JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Monday, December 9th, 3:37. Gonna be really quick here. Talk about the market, some names I'm looking at, and go from there. But take a look at the S&P. It's like a bloodbath today. Oh my gosh. No, I mean, sense a little bit of my sarcasm. We've had quite the rally since mid-November. I mean, the SPY was at 585, and then we've been kind of um, closing the green, but tight sessions. And then today, finally, some little cracks in the foundation, right? But I mean, I look at my watch list. Half of the stocks that I have on my main watch list are green, and some of them to large upside. And a lot of the names are not mega cap names, right? Smaller cap. Uh, Workday's green. I mean, that's up 5%. Um, and then some of these are I wouldn't call them short squeezes, but no analysts really upgrades or just rallying. 3D stocks, DDD, SSYS up 11%. Uh, Celsius is up nearly 10%. And yeah, it's just interesting. And then you go on the flip side and you say, well, some of this, there's news out from an antitrust possible investigation by China into NVIDIA. I mean, NVIDIA does, I don't know, $5 billion in revenues every quarter there. So, I mean, it's a substantial, I think it's that much, but substantial in terms of you say that, but as part of their business, who knows? But it's to me, it's almost like this is people have been waiting, and finally taking profits. See some of the names that are down big have been the names that have been on tears. SG, Coin, uh, Coin's down nearly 9%. AppLovin, right? AppLovin's probably the poster child for today. And I wouldn't say it's the poster child, but there was all these rumblings that it was going to get it into the S&P on Friday. It was over 400 on Friday. Looked like it was going to keep going to the moon, and all of a sudden, uh, boom, it just not approved, and now it's just some follow through today. And it's like, again, it's like an overreaction, but I think people are up so big they're taking profits. You have the end of the year, maybe you want to cover some of the other positions, so on and so forth. So interesting stuff. I still think 610's coming. We've had these days before, and then you start looking at the headlines, and all of a sudden they start to shift, right? A bubble. Oh, look at all this record amount of inflows into the markets. This happens at tops, and especially the fudders, the fear, uncertainty, doubt people. I posted that little chart in the chat room. Jim Kano's Chainhouse Server House's name. He tweeted it before about the record inflows, and it's always got to correlate with some kind of pullback, right? And it just it worked, and maybe they'll be right. I'm not going to sit here and say there's not an opportunity for downside, but I still think 610 is going to come on a SPY, and I'll remain patient. At the same token, if we get followed through tomorrow, we start breaking 600 on the SPY, then maybe I'll look to start getting some hedges. But for now, we've seen this before, and then the next day we'll have a reverse, and things will be back to where some of these stocks that had some greed resets will start bouncing again. So that's the overall market. So 600 on the SPY would be a big spot for me. We're right here at 604. And also to put in perspective, the low on Wednesday was 604 of last week. So 604.90 for the SPY. So it's not like we weren't at 604 on the SPY in 3 weeks or a month or 2 months. No, three sessions ago. So all right, that's that. Small caps, unfortunately, IWM can't hold 240. Looked like it was going to outperform this morning. Out of the gate, 241, hit 30, 241.38, gave it all back. But it's down less than the other indexes. So again, I try and take grains of silver linings and taking everything with a grain of salt. All right, so that's overall market. So individual names, clear. I keep talking about it. Some huge volume again. I think it was the July, what strikes was it? April 39 strikes, something like. I have to go look. Let's see. I can pull up right now. I might as well just. What was the strike? Was it February, right? Excuse me. The February 39 calls had a huge volume. Relative to the overall. So there's 5,000 calls traded on Clear Secure right now. 1,600 of those were on the $39 February strike. So 30% of the call volume was that strike, and it wasn't just one big block, and there were some blocks, but and they weren't spreads. So could be, I don't know if someone's selling to open. We'll find out tomorrow. Open interest on that strike. So 1,600 traded. Open interest is 385. So either way, I mean, I still like it for upside. There's been some swings all the way up to 28.11, at 11:30, back down to 27.20. Good sign. It's just kind of holding up. Even the market has some weakness today. Still like that for over $30. I'll probably wait another day or two, and then I might start looking for some more strikes, because at some point this tight Bollinger Band setup's gonna going to play out. And when it does, it's going to be a large move. And I mean, we saw it after earnings, the large move was to the downside, but I think it's going to happen. So no guarantee, but I just, that's why I look. It's good. If it's going to break out, it's going to be to the upside. All right. So that's clear, secure. Roku. So all the way up to 86.75 this morning. Luke Capital, who has been one of the more negative bearish analysts on Roku, they kept their hold rating, but they raised their price target from like 60 to 80 or 70 to 80. Kind of like a non-event in my opinion, but the stock spiked right out of the gate, almost up to 87. Gave it back in typical Roku style, traded into the red, and it's red right now. And then at 317, there was a huge volume spike. It went from 83.70 or so all the way down to 81.70 in a flash, and now it's been bouncing. It's almost back above those levels. So actually is above those levels. I don't see any news. Sometimes you have big block sales, or you have some shenanigans in the option market where there's huge block that goes through, and then MM's market makers are playing games and have to cover it. I don't know if that was it, but we're back to where it was, and it looks like we might close green. So considering where the market is today, I'll take a green close for Roku as a win, and then maybe can work on starting to fill those gaps up and get over that 90 handle in the next couple days. So that's Roku. That's the overall chart. So 2 trades I made, and one is Baidu, and Baidu's been my friend a couple times this year for some serious multi-baggers. Back in the spring, I think was the first pincher. And I've had some that haven't gone the right way as well. But I was looking, we had the China news overnight, so the announcement by the China government about getting, some, I forget the exact word that they rarely use, but getting serious about stimulus measures, right? To accommodative measures for their economy. So you saw all the China ADR stocks going nuts, BABA, Baidu, PDD, Win. And I call Win a China stock because Macau is a huge part of their business. But I started to look, and once I pulled up the chart on Baidu, and it was over its 50 and its 200-day moving average in one fell swoop. And the last time it broke over the 200-day moving average, it gapped and ran the next day. So, and then it all the way up to 115. That's back at the end of September into October. So I'm not saying we have a deja vu here, but it's either a fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me situation where, hey, I wouldn't say they fooled me because I made money on the calls back in September, October. But here's another time where China's coming out with some comments that supposedly, hopefully, going to stoke their economy, and you have another situation where the China ADR stocks are rallying. Is this it again? So I don't want to be in a spot where we have more positive news overnight. China markets rally, and I look in the morning in the pre-market, and Baidu's up over $100. So I went and got some strikes, got some time for next week calls. I was hoping it was going to close over the 200-day moving average, which is 94.97. It is over the 50-day. It still has some time here before the close. We have 15 minutes. I don't think it'll get there, but I would not be surprised to see a gap and run again on some of these China ADR stocks, especially Baidu. Baidu has a lot of catalysts that I still don't think are priced in with the AI side, the driverless cars. They have just so many different levers that are being pulled. And some of the reason the stock sold off after earnings a couple weeks ago, excuse me, was their core business. And I'm like, the core business is not, that's not the growth story anymore, right? Yeah, all right. So that's rant on Baidu. The second one I added was SolarEdge. I was talking about the last week or two, maybe 2 weeks, sitting on my hands, trying not to add. It's not the most, it's like a possible not going bankrupt story, right? I mean, that's the stock has been completely decimated this year, and we've seen a lot of back from the dead moves the last couple of weeks in some of these names. And SolarEdge has had some huge moves. It also has an insane short interest. I think it's like 35%. It's right near its 50-day moving average. It was right near its 50-day moving average last week, and I almost pulled the trigger because I thought it was going to break through. Sure enough, it gets to $16 and then embarks on a 3-session sell-off to get it all the way back down to 12. And then you see the reversal today, and some of the solar names are going. Again, I don't know if this is China. China's a big part of solar as well. So I think if it breaks that 50-day moving average, off the races to $20. So I got some inexpensive spec lotto calls for next week. If there's some follow through, I think there could be a squeeze. So that's kind of the thought process there. Other names here. Teladoc. Actually, I mean, it looked somewhat promising considering it held up from the low. Still down 2% today, but still over its 200-day moving average. One of these days, it's going to start. It's going to get some mojo. I don't know if it needs a kick, another analyst upgrade, some other kind of news or what have you. But at some point, it's going to start to take off, start to outperform again, but get back to that over 12.50 and then the $15. Uh, and block. So block disappointing. And every time we have these resets in some of these crypto names, we see Coin, MicroStrategy. You see all the miners, CLSK, Mara, Riot. They're all taking on the chin today, and then it's almost like you look at Square and say, "Wow, it should be taking a bigger hit than it is." But the same token, a lot of times it's those other names have sold off and Square is held up. So just unfortunate. It's going to take another day or two before we get back back to near that $100 test. And I keep saying on the watch list, once it breaks and holds that 100, I'll add some strikes. But it seems like it's like almost like when was it $89, like it's consolidating before the next leg. And unfortunately, it's taking its time. So which can be frustrating. I'm trying to think of some of the other names here. You look great. It was 28.40, about 130, and now it's $1 off those levels, but still not down too much considering it was up 13 of the last 14 sessions. I think 14 of 15 if it closed green today. Still have a shot, but that's insane. But I still think that gets over 30 before the year is out. Where's the other names I have on here? I think that's it. What else was it? Yeah, I think that's it, folks. Why is this not on here? All right. All right, folks. Have a great afternoon. I'll be back. Rock and roll.